There are moments, rare, unmistakable moments, when something inside you pauses, when your scrolling slows, when your breath subtly shifts, when your spirit whispers, "Wait, this is different." This is one of those moments. You didn't land here by accident. You didn't read this title by coincidence. No, something deeper, something ancient, something divine has drawn your eyes to this message. Because right now, at this very second, heaven has leaned close to your life and spoken your name. And the message is not ordinary. It is not casual. It is not random. It is a divine announcement. Archangel Michael stands in the unseen realm, not distant, not symbolic, but present. His voice carries both authority and urgency, and he declares something that may feel impossible to your logical mind, yet undeniable to your spirit. Your youth is being restored. Yes, you felt that. That quiet stirring in your chest. That subtle resistance in your mind. That question rising, can this really be for me? Listen carefully, because this is where most people miss their moment. They hear, but they doubt. They feel, but they dismiss. They are called, but they turn away. But not you. You've been feeling something lately, haven't you? A strange awareness, like time has been heavier than usual. Like your body has been carrying more than just years. It has been carrying stress, battles, silent disappointments, emotional weight that no one else saw. You pushed through it. You smiled through it. You survived seasons that should have broken you. And yet somewhere deep inside, there has always been a memory of your strength, a memory of your energy, a memory of a version of you that felt alive, vibrant, unstoppable. You remember how it felt to wake up without heaviness, to move without resistance, to look in the mirror and recognize the fire in your own eyes. And lately you've wondered, where did that version of me go? But here is the truth heaven is revealing right now. Listen closely. That version of you was never lost. It was waiting beneath the weight, waiting beneath the delays, waiting beneath the battles you were never meant to carry forever. And now the waiting is over. Because something has shifted. Something unseen, something powerful, something intentional has been activated over your life. This is not motivation. This is not wishful thinking. This is divine restoration in motion. Archangel Michael is not speaking to the crowd. He is speaking to you. He is announcing that time has no authority over what God has chosen to renew. He is declaring that what has been drained will be replenished. What has been worn will be restored. What has been aged prematurely by stress, pain, and pressure will be reversed by divine command. But here is the mystery, the part most people will not understand. This restoration is not just physical. It begins in the spirit. Because your spirit has remained young this entire time. Your spirit has not aged with your struggles. Your spirit has not weakened with your battles. It has been preserved, protected, and prepared for this exact moment. And now, heaven is aligning your outer world with your inner truth. That is why this message feels different. That is why you couldn't scroll past. That is why something inside you is saying, pay attention. Because this is your announcement. This is your confirmation. This is your turning point. And what comes next will change how you see yourself forever. Type "I receive my restoration" in the comments if you feel this message. Blessing code 2020 is now surrounding you. There is something you have not said out loud, something you have learned to carry so quietly that even those closest to you could not fully see it. It is not just tiredness. It is not just stress. It is something deeper, something layered, something that has settled into your bones over time. And as this message unfolds, Archangel Michael steps closer, not to expose you, but to reveal what heaven has already witnessed. You have been carrying a hidden exhaustion that was never meant to be permanent. You learned how to function while drained. You learned how to smile while depleted. You learned how to keep going even when your body whispered for rest and your spirit longed for renewal. And the world around you, it kept moving, didn't it? You did not pause for your healing. It did not slow down for your recovery. It simply expected you to continue, to perform, to show up as though nothing inside you was quietly unraveling. So you adapted. You adjusted. You endured. But endurance, when stretched too far, begins to disguise itself as identity. You began to believe this heaviness was just who you are now. You told yourself, this is what growing older feels like. You accepted the fatigue, the slower energy, the moments where your body did not respond the way it used to, the times your reflection seemed unfamiliar. You tried to normalize it. You tried to rationalize it. But deep inside, there was always a whisper that said, this is not the fullness of who I am. That whisper was truth. Archangel Michael reveals now that what you have been experiencing is not simply the passage of time. It has been the accumulation of spiritual weight, emotional battles, and silent pressures that accelerated a sense of weariness far beyond what was natural. You have fought battles no one applauded. You have processed emotions no one helped you carry. You have endured seasons where you had to be strong, not because you wanted to be, but because you had no other choice. And every one of those moments left a trace, not visible to everyone, not spoken about openly, but imprinted within you. The long nights of overthinking, the quiet disappointments, the times you gave more than you received, the moments you held yourself together when everything inside you wanted to fall apart. These were not just experiences. They were deposits. And over time, those deposits became the exhaustion you now feel. But hear this clearly, because this is where the shift begins. That exhaustion was never your destiny. It was only a season. You were not created to live in constant depletion. You were not designed to carry the weight of every burden without renewal. You were not meant to feel disconnected from your own vitality. The heaviness you normalized, heaven has now rejected. And this is why this message has found you now, not earlier, not later, but precisely in this moment. Because you have reached a point where your spirit is ready to release what it has been holding on to for too long. You may not have known how to let it go. You may not have even realized how much you were carrying. But heaven knew. Archangel Michael knew. And now, the unveiling is happening so that the restoration can begin. There is also something else you must understand, something that may shift your entire perspective. The exhaustion you have been feeling was not just draining you. It was also masking you. It was covering the true strength that still exists within you. It was dulling the radiance that never truly left. It was slowing the energy that is now being reawakened. What you thought was loss was actually concealment. Because there is a version of you that has remained untouched. A version of you that still holds clarity, strength, vitality, and sharpness. A version of you that did not age with your struggles. A version of you that heaven preserved while you were navigating everything life placed before you. And now, that version is rising again. You are beginning to notice it, even now. Small moments where your energy feels slightly different. Brief flashes of motivation that seem to come out of nowhere. A subtle shift in your thinking, a sense that something is changing even if you cannot fully explain it yet. These are not random. These are signals, indicators that the hidden exhaustion is loosening its grip. Archangel Michael is not only revealing what you have carried, He is removing it. But this process requires your awareness. It requires you to stop identifying with the fatigue. It requires you to recognize that what you have been feeling is not your permanent state. It is something that is now being lifted. And as it lifts, you will begin to feel lighter, clearer, more aligned with the strength that has always been yours. This is why the message of restored youth could not come without first exposing the exhaustion. Because you cannot fully receive renewal until you understand what is being released. You cannot step into restored vitality while still believing you are meant to remain drained. And you cannot embrace transformation if you are still anchored to a version of yourself that was shaped by survival instead of restoration. Now the transition is happening. The weight is shifting. The heaviness is breaking. The exhaustion is being undone. And you are stepping into something that has been prepared for you long before you even realize you needed it. Type "I release the exhaustion" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2323 is now activated. There is a question rising within you now, whether you admit it or not. It is quiet, but it is persistent. It asks, why now? Why me? What has shifted that this restoration is being released at this exact moment? And as that question forms, Archangel Michael does not ignore it. He answers it with clarity, with authority, and with a truth that will reposition how you see your entire journey. You were not chosen randomly. You were not selected by chance. You were appointed deliberately, strategically, and precisely for this moment in time. Because heaven does not restore without purpose. This is the part many fail to understand. They assume restoration is a reward for survival, a comforting gesture after difficulty, or a random blessing that appears without reason. But that is not how divine order operates. Restoration is always connected to assignment. Renewal is always tied to responsibility. And what is being released over your life right now is not just about you feeling better. It is about you becoming aligned with something greater than what you have been living in. Archangel Michael reveals that there has been a preparation taking place beneath everything you have experienced. Every delay, every moment of exhaustion, every season where you felt slowed down or held back. It was not wasted time. It was positioning. It was alignment. It was the necessary pause before acceleration. Because if this restoration had come earlier, you would not have understood how to carry it. If this strength had returned before now, you might have misused it, misdirected it, or placed it in environments that could not sustain it. But now you are different. Now you see differently. Now you discern differently. Now you recognize what drains you and what builds you. And because of that awareness, you are ready to receive what heaven is releasing without losing it again. This is why the timing is exact. You have reached a threshold, a spiritual tipping point where what you have endured has matured into wisdom, where what you have carried has developed into discernment, where what you have lost has refined your understanding of what truly matters. And at this threshold, heaven says, now you are ready. There is also something deeper unfolding, something that goes beyond your personal experience. You are being restored not only for yourself, but for what your life is meant to influence. Your presence, your energy, your clarity, it affects more than just your own reality. It impacts the people around you, the environments you step into, the opportunities you are about to encounter. And heaven requires you to be in a state of strength, not depletion, for what is coming next. Because what is coming requires capacity. It requires clarity. It requires energy. It requires a level of presence that exhaustion could not sustain. And this is why your youth is being restored now. Not as a cosmetic change, not as a surface-level improvement, but as a full alignment of your internal and external state so that you can step into what has already been prepared for you. There are doors that will open that you must have the strength to walk through. There are connections that will form that require your awareness to navigate. There are opportunities that will present themselves that demand your full presence, not a version of you that is still recovering from what you have been through. You are being prepared for access, and access requires readiness. This is why you could not stay in that previous state. That version of you, the one weighed down by exhaustion, slowed by heaviness, disconnected from your vitality, could not sustain what is ahead. It would have collapsed under the pressure of the next level. But this restored version of you, this renewed version, this strengthened version is capable. And heaven knows it. That is why Archangel Michael speaks with certainty, not suggestion. He does not say maybe. He does not say if. He declares what is already in motion. Because in the spiritual realm, your restoration has already been authorized. It is now unfolding into your physical reality. You may not yet see the full evidence, but you will. You will begin to notice the shift in your body, in your energy, in your presence. Others will notice it too, even if they cannot explain it. There will be something about you that feels different, something that draws attention, something that reflects a vitality that cannot be easily defined. And when that happens, remember this moment. Remember that it did not begin when others saw it. It began when you received it. Right here. Right now. In this awareness. You were chosen because you are ready. You were chosen because you can carry it. You were chosen because what is coming next requires the version of you that is now being restored. And nothing about that is accidental. Type I accept my restoration in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 3434 is now active over your life. As this restoration begins to unfold, understand this: every time you help carry this message forward, you become a vessel of renewal in someone else's life. The seeds you sow through your support are not given to a platform, but released into a divine mission that awakens souls who are still walking in hidden exhaustion. The word declares, "He restores my soul," and today that restoration is not only flowing into you, it is meant to flow through you. I feel led to say this clearly. When you act in this moment, when you give through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are stepping into alignment with heaven's movement right now. This is not a donation. It is a prophetic seed that activates light in places still waiting for truth. Those who respond in this moment will feel an unusual increase, a renewal not only in spirit, but in every area connected to obedience. Do not delay this prompting. Step into it now, and let your action become part of someone else's breakthrough. There is a shift happening now that goes beyond emotion, beyond motivation, beyond temporary change. It is something deeper, something structured, something governed by a higher order that does not fluctuate with circumstances. Archangel Michael reveals that what you are stepping into is not just a feeling of renewal. It is the activation of a spiritual law that has always existed, but is only now being released over your life in full authority. You must understand this clearly. Divine renewal is not random. It is not accidental. It operates by alignment. And when alignment is reached, the law responds. For a long time, you have been moving through cycles that felt repetitive. You pushed forward, then felt pulled back. You gained momentum, then experienced delays. You felt glimpses of strength, only to be followed by periods of exhaustion. It seemed inconsistent, almost confusing, as if something was interrupting your progress just as you were beginning to rise. But what you could not see was that you were being brought into position, Because spiritual laws do not activate in chaos. They activate in alignment. And now, something has aligned. Your awareness has shifted. Your perception has matured. Your willingness to release what drains you has deepened. And in that alignment, a law has been triggered. The law of restoration. This law does not ask for permission from your past. It does not negotiate with your previous limitations. It does not consult the timeline you believe you were bound to. When activated, it overrides what seemed fixed. It restores what seemed lost. It renews what appeared worn down. This is why Archangel Michael speaks with certainty. Because once this law is in motion, it cannot be reversed by doubt, by fear, or by the opinions of others. It continues to unfold as long as you remain in alignment with it. And this is where your role becomes critical. You are not being asked to force this restoration. You are not being asked to struggle for it or prove yourself worthy of it. You are being asked to stay aligned with it. To stop returning to the mindset that told you exhaustion was normal. To stop identifying with the version of yourself that had accepted depletion as a permanent condition. To stop speaking in agreement with limitations that no longer have authority over you. Because every time you return to those patterns, you create resistance against what is already moving in your favor. Archangel Michael is clear in this moment. The law has been activated, but your agreement sustains its flow. This means your thoughts matter now more than ever. The way you see yourself matters. The way you speak about your energy, your body, your strength. It all contributes to the continuation of this renewal. You are no longer in a place where your words are neutral. They either align with restoration, or they resist it. And this is not about pressure. It is about awareness. You are becoming conscious of something that has already begun. There will be moments where you feel the shift physically. Moments where your energy feels unexpectedly lighter. Moments where your body responds with a strength you had not felt in a long time. Moments where your mind feels clearer, more focused, more present. These are not coincidences. These are manifestations of the law taking effect. But there may also be moments where the old patterns attempt to resurface, where you feel a familiar heaviness trying to return, where your thoughts attempt to pull you back into the identity you are leaving behind. When that happens, you must recognize it for what it is, not reality, but residue. And residue only has power if you reattach to it. This is why Archangel Michael emphasizes awareness. Because once you see the difference between what is being restored and what is trying to linger, you gain the ability to choose alignment. You gain the ability to remain in the flow of renewal instead of slipping back into cycles that no longer belong to you. Something else is also taking place beneath the surface. Your body is responding to this activation. Not just on a visible level, but on a deeper level that you may not fully perceive yet. Your systems are recalibrating. Your energy is reorganizing. The stress patterns that once dominated your physical state are beginning to loosen their hold. This is not instant in appearance, but it is immediate in initiation. The process has already begun, and as it continues, you will notice a gradual but undeniable transformation. Not forced, not artificial, but natural, steady, and consistent. A return to a state that feels familiar, yet renewed. A version of yourself that feels both restored and elevated beyond what you remember. This is the power of divine law in motion. It does not rush, but it does not stop. It does not struggle, but it does not fail. It continues as long as you remain aligned. And you are aligned now. That is why this message reached you. That is why this moment feels significant. That is why something inside you recognizes that this is not temporary. because it is not. This is the beginning of a sustained renewal that will continue to unfold, layer by layer, revealing a version of you that has always existed beneath the weight you have now released. And as this law continues to operate, one truth becomes undeniable. You are not returning to who you were. You are becoming who you were always meant to be. Type "I walk in divine renewal" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 4545 is now activated around you. There is something you must now confront with clarity, something Archangel Michael brings into the light with unwavering precision. What you have been experiencing was not only exhaustion, it was acceleration. Not the kind that moves you forward, but the kind that silently pushed you ahead of your natural rhythm, aging your energy, draining your vitality, and pressing weight upon you before its time. And now, heaven declares that this acceleration is being broken. You were never meant to feel older than your years. You were never designed to carry burdens that compress time within your body and spirit. Yet, over the seasons, pressures accumulated, responsibilities increased, emotional strain deepened, and without realizing it, you began to live in a state where your energy aged faster than your life was meant to progress. This is what Archangel Michael identifies as premature weariness. It is not visible to everyone, but you have felt it. The moments where your body felt heavier than it should, the times where your energy faded faster than expected, the instances where your mind felt slower, not because of limitation, but because of overload. You adapted to it. You adjusted your expectations. You told yourself this was normal. But heaven never agreed with that conclusion, because what you accepted as normal was never aligned with your design. And now, that misalignment is being corrected. Archangel Michael stands as a warrior, not only against external forces, but against internal agreements that you unknowingly made. Agreements that said, "This is just how it is now." Agreements that allowed weariness to settle in as identity. Agreements that tied your sense of self to limitation rather than potential. And in this moment, those agreements are being broken. Not gradually, not conditionally, but decisively. This is not about denying what you have felt. It is about releasing its authority over you. Because what you carried may have been real, but it was never meant to remain. And now, the chains connected to that state are being removed. You may not see chains in the physical sense, but you will recognize their presence in what they produced. They produced hesitation where there should have been confidence. They produced fatigue where there should have been energy. They produced a sense of decline where there should have been renewal. And as those chains break, you will notice these patterns dissolving. There will be a shift in how you move, a shift in how you think, a shift in how you perceive yourself. And it will not feel forced. It will feel natural, as though something that was suppressed is finally being allowed to surface. Because that is exactly what is happening. Archangel Michael is not adding something new to you. He is removing what was placed upon you so that what already belongs to you can emerge. The strength, the clarity, the vitality. It was never erased. That was restricted. And now, that restriction is being lifted. There is also something deeper at work here, something that requires your full awareness. The breaking of these chains is not only a spiritual act, it is a recalibration of your entire system. Your body, your mind, your energy are all responding to this release. The tension you have carried is beginning to dissolve. The patterns of strain are being interrupted. The cycles of depletion are losing their hold. And as this happens, you may feel moments of unfamiliarity. Moments where you question, is this real? Is this lasting? Because when you have lived in a certain state for so long, change can feel uncertain at first. But Archangel Michael is clear. Do not question what heaven has already established. This restoration is not temporary. It is not conditional. It is not dependent on external validation. It is sustained by divine authority. That means it will continue, regardless of whether others understand it. It will unfold, regardless of whether it is immediately visible to everyone. It will deepen, as long as you remain in alignment with what is being released. And this is where your awareness becomes your strength. You must recognize when the old patterns attempt to return, not as a threat, but as a test of alignment. Because what has been broken cannot bind you again unless you choose to reconnect with it. And now, you have the awareness to choose differently. You are no longer the version of yourself that accepted weariness as normal. You are no longer the version that carried premature aging as identity. You are stepping into a state where your energy reflects your design, not your past experiences. And as this continues, you will notice something undeniable. A lightness returning, a strength stabilizing, a vitality that feels both familiar and renewed. This is not imagination. This is not temporary improvement. This is the result of chains being broken. And once they are broken, they do not reform. That is the authority of what Archangel Michael has initiated over your life. You are not going back to what you were. You are moving forward into what was always meant for you. And this time, nothing will hold it back. Type "I am free from weariness" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5656 is now activated around your life. There is a moment in every true transformation where what was once spoken in the spirit begins to manifest in the body. You are entering that moment now. Not gradually in a way that goes unnoticed, not subtly in a way that can be dismissed, but tangibly, undeniably, and personally. Archangel Michael reveals that what has already been activated is now moving into expression. The restoration is no longer only something you believe. It is becoming something you feel. You are about to experience the return of your strength. Not borrowed strength, not temporary bursts of motivation, but sustained, anchored, deeply rooted vitality that does not fade as quickly as it once did. For too long, your energy has felt unpredictable. You may have had days where you felt almost like yourself again, only to be followed by periods where everything slowed down. That inconsistency created doubt. It made you question whether true restoration was possible or if you were simply experiencing brief moments of relief. But what is happening now is different. This is not fluctuation. This is stabilization. Archangel Michael is not restoring fragments of your energy. He is restoring its foundation. And when the foundation is restored, everything built upon it begins to change. You will begin to notice this in the simplest moments. The way you wake up will feel different. Not necessarily dramatic at first, but noticeable. There will be a sense of readiness that was not there before. A quiet strength that meets you before the weight of the day has a chance to settle. You will notice it in your movement, and how your body responds with less resistance, less hesitation. Tasks that once felt draining will begin to feel manageable again. This is how true vitality returns, not as an overwhelming surge, but as a consistent presence. And as it continues, it will grow. There is something else unfolding beneath this restoration that Archangel Michael wants you to recognize. Your energy is not only returning, it is being refined. This means you will not simply go back to how you were before. You will become more aware of how to sustain this strength. You will instinctively begin to move differently, to choose differently, to protect your energy in ways you did not fully understand before. Because this restoration comes with wisdom. You now know what depletion feels like. You understand what it costs to ignore your limits, to overextend yourself, to carry what was never yours. And because of that awareness, you are now equipped to maintain what is being restored. This is why this transformation is lasting. It is not just a physical renewal, it is a conscious one. You will also begin to notice a shift in your mental clarity. Where there was once fog, there will be focus. Where there was once hesitation, there will be decisiveness. Where there was once scattered energy, there will be direction. This clarity is directly connected to your restored vitality. Because when your energy is aligned, your mind follows. When your strength is stabilized, your thoughts become sharper. And when your system is no longer overwhelmed, your perception becomes clearer. This is why Archangel Michael emphasizes that what is happening now is complete. It is not partial. It is not isolated. It is affecting every layer of your being. Even others will begin to notice. They may not understand what has changed, but they will sense it. They will see it in your posture, in your presence, in the way you carry yourself. There will be something about you that feels renewed, something that reflects a strength that cannot be explained by circumstances alone. And when that happens, do not downplay it. Do not dismiss it. Recognize it as confirmation of what has already been declared over your life. Because this restoration is visible, and it will become more visible with time. But there is one more truth you must hold on to as this unfolds. The return of your strength is not only for comfort, it is for movement. It is preparing you to step forward in ways that require energy, clarity, and consistency. It is equipping you to engage with life again, not from a place of survival, but from a place of capability. You are being repositioned. The fatigue that once limited your actions is no longer controlling your pace. The hesitation that once slowed your decisions is no longer defining your direction. You are moving into a state where your energy supports your purpose rather than restricting it. And this is where everything begins to change. Because when your strength returns, your possibilities expand. You begin to consider things you once dismissed. You begin to engage with opportunities you once avoided. You begin to move with a confidence that comes not from effort, but from alignment. And as you continue in this state, you will realize that what is being restored is not only how you feel, it is how you live. This is the return of your prime, not as a memory, not as something in the past, but as a present reality that continues to grow. And as it grows, you will recognize something that cannot be denied. You are no longer recovering. You are advancing. Type "I walk in strength and vitality" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6767 is now activated around your life. There is a moment approaching, a very personal, very undeniable moment where everything that has been spoken in the unseen will begin to reflect in the seen. It will not happen all at once, and it will not arrive with noise or announcement. It will happen quietly, almost unexpectedly, in a place you visit every day, the mirror. And when that moment comes, you will pause. Not because you are searching for flaws, not because you are analyzing what has changed, but because something will feel different before you can even explain it. You will look at yourself, and for a brief second, there will be recognition. Not of who you have been recently, but of someone you remember, someone you thought had faded with time. Archangel Michael reveals that this moment is not symbolic. It is confirmation. Because what heaven restores internally must eventually become visible externally. What hath been renewed in your spirit, what hath been recalibrated in your energy, what has been aligned in your system, it cannot remain hidden forever. It begins to express itself, and the first place you will notice it is in your own reflection. But here is the truth you must understand before that moment arrives. This is not about perfection. It is not about chasing an image or comparing yourself to what you once were. It is about recognition. It is about seeing the life returning to your presence, the vitality returning to your expression, the clarity returning to your eyes. You will see it in subtle ways at first. The brightness in your face that was once dimmed by exhaustion will begin to reappear. The tension you carried without realizing it will soften. The heaviness that once settled into your posture will begin to lift. You will not need to search for it. It will be there, naturally, without effort. And as these changes unfold, something deeper will happen. Your perception of yourself will begin to shift. For a long time, you may have looked at yourself through the lens of what you felt. If you felt tired, you saw tiredness. If you felt drained, you saw weariness. If you felt disconnected, you saw distance. Your reflection became a mirror of your internal state. But now that your internal state is changing, your reflection must follow. And this is where many people hesitate. Because when change begins to appear, there is often a moment of disbelief. A moment where the mind tries to question what the eyes are starting to see. A moment where you wonder if it is temporary, if it will last, if it is real. But Archangel Michael speaks clearly here. Do not question what heaven has already confirmed. This is not temporary. This is not illusion. This is alignment becoming visible. There is also something else you must prepare for. As your reflection begins to change, others will begin to notice. Not always in obvious ways, but in subtle reactions. A second glance. A comment that seems casual but carries curiosity. A question about what you are doing differently. They may not have the language to describe it, but they will sense it. Because restored vitality carries a presence. It is not just how you look, it is how you appear. It is the energy you bring into a space, the way you hold yourself, the way your presence interacts with the environment around you. And when that presence shifts, it cannot be hidden. But this is where your awareness must remain grounded. This transformation is not for validation. It is not for approval. It is not for comparison. It is for alignment. It is the outward confirmation of what has already been established within you. And as it becomes more visible, you must remain connected to its source, not distracted by its appearance. Because the mirror is not the origin. It is the evidence. The origin is what has already been activated in your spirit, sustained in your alignment, and supported by the divine authority that initiated this restoration. And as long as that remains intact, the reflection will continue to follow. There will come a day, not far from now, where you will look at yourself and there will be no hesitation, no questioning, no doubt. You will recognize the strength in your expression, the clarity in your eyes, the vitality in your presence. And in that moment, you will understand fully what Archangel Michael has been declaring from the beginning. That your youth was never lost. It was waiting to be revealed again. And now, it is. This is not a return to the past. This is a renewal of what was always yours. And as this continues to unfold, you will no longer need confirmation from outside sources. You will see it for yourself. You will feel it within yourself. You will know, without question, that what has been spoken over your life is now living through you. The mirror will not lie. It will confirm what heaven has already established. And when it does, you will stand in a quiet certainty that cannot be shaken. You will know. Type ISC my restoration in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7878 is now activated around your life. There is something else unfolding alongside your restoration, something you may have already begun to sense, but have not fully named. As your energy rises, as your presence strengthens, as your vitality becomes more visible, the atmosphere around you begins to respond. Not everyone will understand what is happening to you. Not everyone will celebrate it, and some will watch in silence. Archangel Michael reveals this not to create fear, but to prepare your awareness. Because when transformation becomes visible, it attracts attention. And attention is not always pure. There are people around you, some close, some distant, who have grown accustomed to a certain version of you. A version that was quieter, more withdrawn, less radiant, less impactful. A version that fit comfortably within their expectations. And now, as you begin to shift, as your energy changes, as your presence becomes stronger, something within them begins to react. Not always openly, not always directly, but subtly, internally, quietly. You may notice it in the way conversations change, the way certain people observe you more closely than before, the way some responses feel slightly different, slightly delayed, slightly guarded. These are not coincidences. These are reactions to your transformation. Because not everyone is comfortable witnessing growth they did not expect. Some will feel inspired, yes. Some will be drawn to your renewed energy, curious about what has changed. But others will experience something else, a quiet discomfort they cannot fully explain. Not because you have done anything wrong, but because your restoration reflects something they have not yet embraced within themselves. This is what Archangel Michael identifies as silent witnessing. They see the shift. They feel the difference. But they do not always know how to respond to it. And in that space, there can be observation without celebration. You must understand this clearly. This is not your burden to carry. Your restoration is not dependent on others' reactions. It is not diminished by their silence. It is not validated by their approval. It exists independently, sustained by the divine authority that initiated it. But awareness is necessary, because when you recognize these dynamics, you avoid misinterpreting them. You do not internalize their distance as rejection. You do not question your transformation because of their lack of response. You remain grounded in what you know is happening within you. There is also another layer to this. Some individuals may not only observe, they may compare. They may look at your renewed energy and reflect on their own state. They may measure your visible transformation against their internal reality. And in that comparison, emotions can arise that are not always expressed outwardly. This is where subtle tension can form. Not confrontation, not conflict, but quiet contrast. And this is where your discernment becomes essential. You are not being called to explain yourself. You are not being asked to justify your growth. You are not required to adjust your light to make others comfortable. You are being called to remain aligned. Because the moment you begin to shrink your presence to fit into others' expectations, you disrupt the very restoration that has been activated over your life. And Archangel Michael is clear. What hath been restored must be maintained without compromise. This does not mean you withdraw or isolate yourself. It means you stay centered. You continue moving in the energy that has been given to you without seeking permission or validation. You allow others to process your transformation in their own way, without letting it influence your alignment. There is strength in quiet confidence. There is power in silent certainty. And as you continue in this state, something else will happen. Those who are meant to align with your renewed energy will draw closer. Not through force, not through effort, but naturally. They will recognize something within you that resonates with where they are or where they are going, and that alignment will feel effortless. At the same time, those who are not aligned may create distance, not necessarily intentionally, but as a result of the shift. And this is not loss. It is adjustment. It is the natural reorganization of your environment to match your current state. Archangel Michael wants you to understand this clearly. Your restoration will rearrange your surroundings. Not always dramatically, but noticeably. And as this happens, you must remain steady. Do not chase those who pull back. Do not question yourself when dynamics change. Do not interpret silence as something you need to fix. Everything is adjusting to the version of you that is now emerging. And that version is not meant to fit into what was. It is meant to stand in what is becoming. To allow the watchers to watch. Allow the observers to observe. Allow the silent witnesses to process what they see. Because your focus is not on their reaction. Your focus is on your alignment. And as long as you remain there, nothing outside of you can disrupt what has been established within you. Type "I remain aligned" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8989 is now activated around your life. As your light begins to rise and others quietly witness what God is restoring in you, understand this sacred truth. Every seed you release becomes a spark of that same light in someone else's darkness. Scripture declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy." And right now, your act of giving becomes a river that carries this message to souls still waiting for renewal. I feel led to say this in this moment. When you choose to support through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are not giving to a voice. You are fueling a movement that awakens the weary and restores the broken. This is your moment to act. Not later, not when it feels convenient, but now, while the Spirit is stirring your heart. Your obedience in this act releases increase, clarity, and divine covering over areas you have been praying for. Do not hesitate. Step into this flow, sow your seed, and watch how heaven responds to your alignment. There is something you must now understand with complete clarity, something Archangel Michael reveals not as a warning, but as a calling. What has been restored within you is not only a blessing, it is a responsibility. Not a burden, not a weight, but a sacred assignment tied to how you carry what has been given back to you. Because restoration is not just about receiving, it is about sustaining. It is about honoring. It is about living in alignment with what has been restored so that it continues to grow rather than fade. For a long time, you lived in a state where your energy was limited, where your vitality was inconsistent, where your strength felt conditional. And in that state, you adapted your life accordingly. You lowered expectations. You adjusted your pace. You structured your days around what you could manage rather than what you were capable of. But now, everything is changing. Your capacity is expanding. Your energy is stabilizing. Your presence is strengthening. And with that expansion comes a new level of awareness. Because if you attempt to live this new level of strength with the same patterns that drained you before, you will create resistance against your own restoration. This is why Archangel Michael calls this sacred responsibility. You are now aware of what drains you. You are now aware of what sustains you. You are now aware of what aligns with your energy and what disrupts it. And with that awareness, you are being asked to choose differently. Not out of fear, not out of restriction, but out of alignment. Because your renewed youth is not fragile, but it is responsive. It responds to how you live. It responds to how you think. It responds to how you engage with your environment. If you continue to give your time, your attention, your energy to what depleted you before, you will feel the effects. Not because the restoration is failing, but because you are moving out of alignment with it. But when you begin to honor what has been restored, something powerful happens. Your energy multiplies. Your clarity deepens. Your vitality stabilizes in a way that feels natural, not forced. You begin to move through your life with intention. You become more selective with what you engage in, not because you are limiting yourself, but because you are protecting what has been entrusted to you. This is where your lifestyle begins to shift. Not dramatically at first, but intentionally. You will find yourself stepping away from things that no longer feel aligned. Conversations that once felt normal may now feel draining. Environments that once felt familiar may now feel heavy. Habits that once felt routine may now feel unnecessary. This is not loss. This is refinement. You are not being restricted. You are being recalibrated. And as this recalibration continues, your life begins to reflect your restoration. There is also something deeper at work here. Your renewed youth is not only for your experience, it is for your expression. It influences how you show up in the world. It affects how you interact with others. It changes the energy you bring into every space you enter. And because of that, it carries impact. People will feel it, even if they cannot explain it. They will respond to your presence differently. They will sense the clarity, the strength, the vitality. And without realizing it, you will begin to influence your environment simply by being aligned with yourself. This is why it must be carried with awareness, not with pressure, not with fear, but with understanding. Because what you carry now is not ordinary. It is a restored state that hath been activated with intention. And as long as you remain aligned with it, it will continue to expand. There will be moments where you are tested, moments where old patterns try to invite you back, moments where you are tempted to overextend, to overgive, to return to the habits that once felt normal. In those moments, you must pause, not to resist forcefully, but to remember. Remember what you have been given. Remember what you have already released. Remember what you are now aligned with. Because every decision you make now either strengthens your restoration or weakens your alignment with it. And you have the awareness to choose. That is your responsibility. Not perfection, not control, but conscious alignment. You are no longer living in survival. You are living in restoration. And that requires a different way of moving, a different way of choosing, a different way of being. Archangel Michael does not expect you to get everything perfect. He expects you to remain aware, to recognize when you are aligned, to recognize when you are drifting, and to gently return to the state that has been restored within you. Because this is not something you can lose in a moment, but it is something you must honor over time. And as you do, something remarkable will happen. Your restoration will not only remain, it will deepen. Your energy will not only stabilize, it will expand. Your vitality will not only return, it will evolve. And you will find yourself living in a state that once felt distant, but now feels natural. Because you are no longer reaching for it. You are carrying it. And that is the sacred responsibility you have now stepped into. Type "I honor my restoration" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9090 is now activated around your life. There is always a moment before full manifestation, a moment that feels subtle, almost unnoticeable at first. It carries immense significance. Archangel Michael reveals that you are approaching that moment now. It is not a setback. It is not a delay. It is a test. Not a test designed to make you fail, but a test designed to confirm that you are ready to fully carry what has already been activated within you. This is where many people misunderstand the process of transformation. They assume that once restoration begins, everything should flow without resistance. They expect a smooth, uninterrupted transition from one state to another. But divine transformation does not bypass confirmation. It does not skip the moment where alignment is solidified through choice. And that is what this moment is. A confirmation of who you are now. You may begin to notice it in subtle ways. Old patterns may attempt to reappear, not with the same intensity as before, but just enough to invite your attention. Situations that once drained you may resurface, offering you the opportunity to engage the way you used to. Thoughts that once defined your identity may try to echo again, testing whether you still agree with them. But this time, everything is different. Because you are aware. Before, you may have reacted automatically. You may have slipped back into familiar responses without realizing it. But now, there is a pause. A moment where you see the pattern before it takes hold. A moment where you recognize the invitation before you accept it. And in that moment you choose. This is the test. Not whether the old patterns exist, but whether you still align with them. Archangel Michael stands present in this phase, not as an observer, but as a guide. He does not remove the choice from you, because your choice is what anchors your transformation. He allows the moment to appear so that your alignment can be confirmed, not just declared. You may feel a brief tension during this time, a sense of contrast between who you were and who you are becoming. It may feel like standing between two versions of yourself, with the familiar pulling from one side and the unknown inviting you forward. But this tension is not confusion. It is clarity. It shows you exactly where you stand. And as you move through this moment, you will begin to notice something powerful. The old patterns no longer feel natural. They no longer fit the way they once did. What once felt normal now feels out of place. What once felt automatic now feels misaligned. This is your confirmation. Because transformation is not only about gaining something new, it is about outgrowing what no longer belongs to you. And you have outgrown it. There may be a moment where you are tempted to revisit the familiar, not because it aligns with you, but because it is known. Familiarity as a way of presenting itself as comfort, even when it no longer serves you. But Archangel Michael is clear. Do not confuse familiarity with alignment. You are not being called back. You are being called forward. And the strength you now carry is more than enough to sustain that movement. This test is not long. It is not drawn out. It is precise. It appears. It presents the choice, and it passes as soon as you stand in your alignment. And once it passes, something shifts permanently. The hesitation disappears. The uncertainty dissolves. The transformation stabilizes. You will feel it. A sense of certainty that was not there before. A grounded awareness that you are no longer transitioning. You have arrived. Not in the sense that everything is complete, but in the sense that your identity has shifted fully into alignment with what has been restored. This is where your transformation becomes irreversible. Not because change is impossible, but because your awareness is now too strong to return to what you have already outgrown. You see too clearly. You understand too deeply. You recognize too quickly. And because of that, you move differently. There's also something else that happens after this moment. The external world begins to respond more clearly to your internal shift. Opportunities align more naturally. Interactions feel more fluid. your environment begins to reflect the stability that has been established within you. This is not coincidence. It is confirmation. Because once your alignment is solidified, everything around you adjusts to match it. This is why this moment matters so deeply. It is not about proving yourself. It is about confirming yourself. You are not being tested to see if you are worthy. You are being shown that you are ready. And as you stand in that readiness, the final layer of your transformation locked into place, you are no longer becoming. You are being. Fully. Completely. Aligned with the restoration that has been spoken over your life. And once this moment passes, you will not question it again. You will know. Type "I am fully aligned" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated around your life. Now that the alignment has been confirmed, now that the restoration has taken root within you, a new phase begins. This phase is not about becoming, it is about living. It is about walking daily in what has already been established. Archangel Michael reveals that this is where your transformation becomes your lifestyle, where your renewed youth is no longer something you notice occasionally, but something you embody consistently. This is where many people falter, not because they lose what was given, but because they fail to integrate it into their daily rhythm. They experience moments of renewal, moments of clarity, moments of strength, but they treat them as temporary peaks rather than new baseline. And because of that, they drift between states instead of stabilizing in one. But you are not returning to fluctuation. You are stepping into consistency. This means your daily life will begin to reflect your restored state in practical, tangible ways. The way you wake up, the way you move through your day, the way you respond to situations, it all begins to align with the strength that has been restored within you. You are no longer navigating life from a place of recovery. You are moving from a place of readiness. There is a rhythm to this. A quiet, steady rhythm that does not rush, does not force, but sustains. You will begin to notice that your energy no longer spikes and crashes the way it once did. Instead, it holds. It carries you through your day with a sense of stability that feels natural. You are not constantly checking in with your body, wondering if you have enough energy to continue. You are simply moving, simply living, simply engaging without the same level of strain. This is what it means to walk in divine youth. It is not about intensity. It is about continuity. It is about having access to your strength when you need it, without having to search for it or fight to maintain it. And as this continues, your confidence begins to rebuild, not from external validation, but from internal consistency. You trust yourself again. You trust your energy. You trust your ability to show up fully. This trust is essential because it changes how you approach your life. You no longer hesitate the way you once did. You no longer second-guess your capacity. You begin to say yes to things that align with you, not from pressure, but from confidence in your ability to sustain them. And at the same time, you become more comfortable saying no. Not out of fear, not out of avoidance, but out of awareness. You recognize what supports your state and what disrupts it, and you make decisions accordingly. This is not restriction. It is refinement. It is the natural result of understanding your alignment and choosing to remain within it. Archangel Michael emphasizes that this phase is where discipline becomes devotion. Not rigid discipline, not forced routines, but a natural commitment to maintaining what hath been restored. You begin to create small, consistent actions that support your energy, your clarity, your vitality. These actions are not overwhelming. They are non-dramatic, but they are intentional. And over time, they compound. They reinforce your state. They deepen your restoration. They anchor your transformation into your reality. You will also notice a shift in how time feels. Before, time may have felt heavy, something to get through, something that drained you as it passed. But now, time begins to feel lighter, more fluid, more expansive. You are not racing against it, and you are not being dragged by it. You are moving with it. This is a subtle but powerful change, because when your energy aligns, your experience of time aligns as well. You begin to feel present, not stuck in the past, not anxious about the future, but fully engaged in the moment you are in. And in that presence, your life begins to open. Opportunities feel more accessible. Interactions feel more meaningful. Your environment feels more responsive. This is not because the world has changed. It is because you have. And as you continue walking in this state, something becomes clear. This is not a phase. This is not a temporary elevation. This is your new normal. There may still be moments where you feel slight fluctuations, moments where your energy dips or your clarity wavers. But those moments no longer define you. They pass quickly, without pulling you back into old patterns. You recover faster. You realign faster. You remain anchored. This is stability. This is maturity. This is the embodiment of what has been restored. And as you continue in this way, you will begin to notice something else. A quiet sense of gratitude, not forced, not spoken, but felt. A recognition that what you have received is significant, and knowing that what you are living in now is something you once longed for. And in that gratitude, your alignment strengthens even more. Because gratitude keeps you present. It keeps you aware. It keeps you connected to the source of what has been restored. Archangel Michael stands with you in this phase, not as a distant presence, but as a steady guide, ensuring that what has been established continues to unfold. And as long as you remain in this awareness, this rhythm, this alignment, your restoration will not fade. It will continue to grow. It will continue to deepen. It will continue to define the way you live. You are no longer reaching for your youth. You are walking in it. Daily. Naturally. Fully. Type "I walk in my divine prime" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated around your life. There comes a moment in every divine transformation where the process is no longer unfolding. It is sealed. Not partially, not conditionally, not temporarily, but completely. You have now reached that moment. Archangel Michael steps forward in this final phase, not with instruction, not with warning, but with declaration. What has been restored in you is not something that will fade with time. It is something that has been anchored beyond time. This is where everything becomes irreversible. Not because life will never challenge you again. Not because circumstances will always be perfect. But because what has been established within you is now stronger than anything outside of you. Your restoration is no longer dependent on conditions. It is sustained by alignment, sealed by awareness, and protected by divine authority. You must understand the weight of this moment. You are not the same person who began this journey. You are not the same person who carried that exhaustion. You are not the same person who accepted limitation as identity. That version of you has been released, layer by layer, choice by choice, alignment by alignment. And now, what remains is a version of you that is fully integrated with the strength, vitality, and clarity that heaven has restored. Archangel Michael places what can only be described as a spiritual seal over this transformation. Not something you can see with your physical eyes, but something you will feel in your certainty. a quiet knowing that this is not fragile, a deep awareness that this is not temporary, a grounded confidence that what hath been done cannot be undone. This seal does not remove your responsibility. It strengthens your position. It means you are no longer maintaining something that can easily slip away. You are living within something that has been established at a deeper level. Your role is no longer to protect it with effort, but to remain aligned with it through awareness. And as long as that awareness remains, the restoration remains. There will be days ahead where you move through your life and suddenly realize how far you have come. Moments where you reflect, not intentionally, but naturally, and recognize that the weight you once carried is no longer present. That the fatigue that once defined your days has been replaced with consistency. That the hesitation that once slowed you hath been replaced with clarity. These moments will not surprise you. They will confirm you. Because this is not a transformation you are chasing. It is one you are now living in. There is also something else that becomes clear at this stage. You are no longer trying to return to your prime. You are living in it. But this time, it is different. It is not the same as before. It is deeper. It is wiser. It is more stable. Because it is not based on circumstances. It is based on alignment. This is why it will not fade the way it once did. This is why it will not be easily disrupted. This is why it will continue to grow, even as life continues to move forward. Archangel Michael makes this final declaration clear. What has been restored in you is now part of your identity. Not a phase, not a moment, not a temporary elevation, but a permanent state that you will continue to embody. And as you move forward from this point, there is nothing you need to chase, nothing you need to prove, nothing you need to force. You simply need to live, to walk in what has been given, to remain aware of what has been established, to continue choosing alignment, not out of effort, but out of understanding. Because you now understand something you did not before. You understand your energy. You understand your alignment. You understand your capacity. And most importantly, you understand that what has been restored in you was never truly lost. It was waiting for this moment to be revealed, to be activated, to be sealed. And now, it is. There is no going back. There is no returning to what you were. There is only forward movement, sustained strength, and a continued unfolding of the life that aligns with this restored state. You are no longer becoming. You are established. And that is final. Type "I am fully restored" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now sealed over your life. As this seal of restoration settles over your life, understand this sacred truth. Every seed you release becomes a key that unlocks this same renewal in someone still waiting for their breakthrough. The word speaks, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And right now, that promise is alive, breathing, and calling you into action. I feel this strongly for you. This is your moment to step forward, not as a viewer, but as a vessel of light, by supporting this mission through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen. When you sow into this work, you are not giving to a channel. You are igniting a harvest of restored lives, awakened spirits, and renewed strength across the world. Those who respond in this moment will experience a return, not only in provision, but in clarity, energy, and divine alignment. Do not delay this instruction. Step into it now, release your seed, and become part of the movement that carries God's restoration to others.